Most people think longevity comes down to what you eat, which supplements you take, and how often you exercise. But after studying the actual human lifespan research, I discovered that what people obsess over contributes almost nothing to how long they live. And by the end of this video, you'll know the single most powerful predictor of reaching 100 years, and I promise you, it's not what you're expecting. I'm Dr. Max. I'm a physical therapist, but I'm obsessed with medical research that explains what causes chronic diseases decades before symptoms appear. What you're about to hear comes from population-level data, long-term coherent studies, and the actual predictors of who reaches their 90s with their health intact. These habits accumulate quietly over decades. Most people never see them coming until it's too late. By the time you notice something's wrong, your biology has been shifting in the wrong direction for at least 20 years. And here's the question: why do the longest living populations on Earth never set foot in a gym? When you examine the places where people routinely celebrate their 100th birthday, Okinawa, Sardinia, Ikaria, something doesn't add up. These people aren't running marathons, they don't lift weights, they have no structured training programs, yet they consistently outlive those of us in the UK or United States by 10 to 20 years. The answer is NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's all the movement you perform that isn't a structured exercise. Walking to shops, bending down, standing while cooking, and tending gardens, carrying laundries. But here's where it gets biological. When you engage in consistent low-level movement throughout your day, you activate AMPK, AMP-activated protein kinase. These cellular energy sensors initiate fat oxidation, enhances insulin sensitivity, and triggers mitochondrial biogenesis. What this means is your cells start constructing more energy-producing factories. You're not burning massive calories in 1 hour at the gym. You're signaling your metabolism to stay active for at least 12 to 14 hours each day. Research tracking over 17,000 people found those accumulating more than 7,000 steps daily showed a 50 to 70% lower risk of all-cause mortality. But here's what most people completely miss about those Okinawas. In Okinawa, people don't sit in chairs, they sit on the floor. Every single time they stand up, they're performing a body weight squat. They repeat this 30, 40, 50 times daily without conscious thought. That's thousands of repetitions annually. Modern life has systematically engineered movement out of existence. We sit during our commute, at work, while eating. The average office worker moves for less than 2 hours during a 16-hour waking period. From a longevity perspective, that's catastrophic. The longest living populations don't schedule movement as a separate activity. They woven it into the texture of daily living. Metabolically, that distinction makes all the difference. But the movement alone doesn't explain why some 40-year-olds are biologically 60, while some 70-year-olds test like they're 50. There is something happening beneath the surface that most people never measure. But if I told you muscle isn't just for strength, it's a longevity organ, the answer is after age 40, muscle loss becomes one of the fastest accelerators of this. Not primarily because you become weak, but because the muscle is the metabolic and endocrine and immune organ. Muscle is the largest insulin-sensitive tissue in your body. When muscle mass drops, so does your ability to clear glucose from your bloodstream. Insulin resistance rises. Type 2 diabetes risk skyrockets. But muscle does something even more profound. It actually secretes molecules called myokines, signaling proteins that regulate inflammation, support brain function, strengthen your bones, and even protect against cancer. One myokine called irisin, it converts white fat into brown fat, which burns burns calories for heat. Another one is interleukin 6, released during exercises and acts as an anti-inflammatory signal. Muscle isn't passive tissue. It's an endocrine gland communicating with every organ in your body. And here's the measurement that predicts how long you live. One of the most robust lifespan predictors is grip strength. A study tracking over 140,000 people across 17 countries found that grip strength alone predicts all causes of mortality better than blood pressure. For every 5 kilograms decrease in grip strength, death risk from any cause increased by 60%. Cardiovascular deaths increased by 17. That's not because grip strength itself is magical. It's because grip strength serves as a proxy for total muscle mass and neuromuscular function. A strong grip equals a strong body. Weak grip signals biological decline. Additionally, falls and fractures are leading causes of death in older adults. A hip fracture after age 65 carries a 20-30% 1-year mortality rate. Muscle strength prevents that fall initially. It's what allows you to catch yourself. It's what maintains independences. Let that sink in for a moment. Your muscle mass right now is determining whether you'll be independent at 80 or not. Now, here's where most wellness advice gets it completely backwards. And the question is, should you avoid stress to live longer? Everyone assumes the solution to stress is avoiding it. Meditation apps, digital detoxes, declining commitment. The entire wellness industry is built on the idea that stress is inherently harmful and should be minimized. But the longest living people experience enormous amounts of stress, yet they live longer than most of us. The real question isn't how much stress you experience, it's whether your nervous system can recover from it. Here's a measurement that reveals everything. One of the best tools in heart rate variability, HRV, it measures the variation in time between your heartbeat. Counterintuitively, higher variability is better. It indicates your nervous system is adaptable. It can shift between stress and rest easily. But low HRV means your system is stuck in fight or flight mode and your body can't relax even when it should. A meta-analysis of over 40 studies found that low HRV predicts cardiovascular mortality independent of other risk factors. People with the lowest HRV had nearly double the heart disease death risk. So, what does nervous system recovery actually look like? It's not just about relaxation. It's about exposing yourself to acute stress and then giving your system the signal that threat has ended. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools. A hard workout activates your sympathetic nervous system, heart rate spikes, cortisol rises, adrenaline flows your bloodstream. But when the workout ends and you cool down, your parasympathetic nervous system takes over. Heart rate drops and breathing slows and digestion restarts. That cycle, stress followed by recovery, trains your nervous system to be resilient. Breath work does the same. Deliberate sub-breathing, especially extending exhale beyond inhale, directly activates the vagus nerve, the main parasympathetic highway in your body. The key is that the stressor must end. Your system must receive the all clear signals. The longest living people are the people who experience stress regularly but recover from it quickly. Alright, we've covered movement, muscle and stress recovery, but none of that matters if you're silently inflamed. What's operating completely beneath conscious awareness, dismantling your physiology from decades? The answer is aging isn't driven by time alone, it's driven by biological friction, the slow, relentless accumulation of damage at the cellular level. Scientists call this inflammaging, chronic low-grade inflammation that quietly dismantles your physiology over decades. This isn't the inflammation you feel after an injury. That's acute, a healthy, temporarily immune response. But inflammaging is different. It's systemic, it's silent, and it drives almost every major age-related diseases. Cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, arthritis. The clearest markers are C-reactive proteins and interleukin 6. In healthy people, they spike briefly during infection, then return to baseline. In someone with chronic inflammation, they stayed elevated for years. Here's the thing, you can feel inflammation happening. There is no pain, no obvious symptoms. That's what makes it so dangerous. By the time symptoms appear, the damage has been compounding for 20 to 30 years already. What drives inflammation? Ultra-processed foods, high in refined sugar and seed oils, chronic sleep deprivation, sedentary lifestyle and behaviors, social isolation, chronic stress, obesity, particularly visceral fat, which secretes inflammatory cytokines. What suppresses inflammation? Whole foods rich in polyphenols and omega-3 fatty acids, regular movement, strength training, quality of sleep, stress recovery, and most powerfully, deep social connection. Which brings us to number one, the single strongest predictor of how long you live. At this point, most people expect exercise, diet, or sleep. Those things matter. But every major long-term human study keeps landing on the same conclusion. And it shocks people every single time. What's the strongest lifespan predictor? The answer is, it's not what you eat, it's not how much you exercise, it's not even your genetics. It's the quality of your relationships, specifically whether you feel deeply, emotionally safe with the people around you. This comes from the Harvard study of adult development, one of the longest running studies in human history. It started in 1938, followed over 700 people for more than 85 years. When they analyzed all the data to find the single strongest predictor of who lived the longest and healthiest, the answer was unambiguous. Relationships. Social isolation is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes per day. It's worse than obesity. It's worse than physical inactivity. Why does this happen? When you feel socially isolated, your body interprets that as a survival threat. In evolutionary terms, being alone means vulnerability to predators, starvation, and this. Your immune system responds by upregulating inflammation, preparing for injury or infection. When loneliness becomes chronic, that inflammatory state never deactivates. Your immune system stays on high alert, attacking your own tissues and accelerating aging. A meta-analysis of 148 studies involving over 300,000 participants found that people with strong social relationships had a 50% increased survival likelihood. Additionally, loneliness suppresses your immune function. Lonely people have significantly lower natural killer selectivity, the immune cells that destroy viruses and cancers. It's not about how many friends you have. It's not necessarily how often you socialize. What matters is whether you have at least one or two relationships where you can feel truly known, where you can be vulnerable, where you're not performing or hiding. The Harvard researchers found that people in high conflict marriages had worse health outcomes than single peoples. A bad relationship, it's worse than no relationship. Modern life has engineered this out of existence. We commute alone, we work remotely, we scroll instead of talking. The longest living populations in the blue zones, they all live in tight-knit communities. Their social connections is woven into daily life. They eat together, they work together, they age together. Loneliness is almost non-existence because isolation is actually unacceptable. So the real secret to longevity isn't optimization. It's not even biohacking. It's not expensive supplements. It's building stability, daily movement woven into life's fabric, a nervous system that handles stress and recovers quickly, low inflammation, preventing silent damage, and most powerfully, human connection that makes life feel safe. Longevity isn't built in extremes. It's built quietly through systems that compound for decades while nobody's watching. The people who live longest aren't the ones trying hardest. They're the ones who build lives where health is the default, not the exception. In the next video, I'll show you the single most overlooked daily habit that accelerates aging faster than smoking. And you're probably doing it right now without realizing it. This is Dr. Max. Understand your body and you control your health. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.